And so the sun sets on that most holy of holidays, 420. And with the main character not even having partaken in a single weed, Snoop Dogg has to be looking down very disappointed upon Joker right now. But Mr. Dogg has to understand that by storming the palace, I'm not only saving a lot of students, I'm also saving myself. And if my suspicions are correct, the entire world eventually. So, unfortunately, that is going to have to mean that I can't smoke weed every day as he would like. So one of the great things about the Persona episodes is that nobody watches these, so I can do pretty much anything during this. I could just spend the next hour practicing my beatboxing if I so felt like it. But no, I got too much respect for the audience. Alright, so I don't only have to study at LeBlanc, can also be studying at the various diners on Central Street. I assume that is probably referring to the Beef Bowl place that Ryuji and I went to a little while back. I mean, after all, they did render the entire inside of that place, so with a game with this much content, you do have to reuse some stuff. And I might take advantage of that eventually, but not right now. This episode is going to be all about finishing up the palace, at least as much as I can for the time being. And yeah, this entire whole scene is another example of how I might be out of the main tutorials, but the effect of that remains. It still lingers, and we're still going to get a lot of conversations like this for the time being, unfortunately. Oh well, at least it's not nearly as long as the extended tutorials that you had previously. Oh, hey, Anne. Yep, and the game, thankfully, is also pushing. The game is not also trying to make you avoid going to the palace right now and get some of those social links done. No. They're really pushing you towards that, too. Which I can appreciate. I've been going a long time without gameplay, after all. Oh, yeah. And we will not be having any regrets, because we are going to be accomplishing a lot this time. Previously, I just got completely kicked to the curb by that Archangel, but that is not going to happen this time. No. I am prepared, ready, refreshed, relaxed, and ready to go. Yeah. Not that Morgana would let me flake on you anyway. Actually, maybe. I think that once we get to the... I can still bail right at the very last second when we get to the hideout on the roof, but that's not going to happen. Yeah. Hey, you're the boss. I guess, as we established last time. Oh, well, it doesn't reign inside the collective unconsciousness of mankind. I think? I'm actually not sure. We haven't really done too much with that just yet. In Persona 4, it got pretty foggy, but don't think that's quite the same. This is a different level of said unconsciousness, at least as far as I can tell. So let's just skip right to the fight here. All right. So the only thing you missed here was Morgana saying, "Hey, it looks like he's gonna do something. Maybe you should defend." And that's a good idea. Although really the only person that actually matters when it comes to taking damage is the main character, because everybody else can get knocked unconscious any amount of times. I can't imagine that's very healthy for them, but hey, I didn't choose how the game worked. Developers did. Alright, so no real weaknesses, I think, for the Archangel. It's just try to defend whenever he's going to do a big attack, and then otherwise attack him a lot. I've got a lot of, HP using super attacks on Ryuji and the main character here. Gonna be taking full advantage of that, and aside from that, everybody else is just gonna be doing regular attacks. I think he might actually be completely immune to guns. Don't quote me on that, but I'm not taking any chances, let's just say that. Because although the Archangel does have a very high damaging single target slash attack, it also has, what is it called, like a Vajra wave? Something like that. A word that I only know from Slay the Spire. A single strength? It's a pretty good artifact if you can get it early on the Ironclad. Well, anyway, here it attacks the entire party for a lot of damage, and that's what took me out last time. Still not a whole ton of healing options here, which is why I don't really want to. I want to keep everybody alive as much as possible just to have some more sacrificial lambs for when the Archangel decides to use Slash. Hey, I mean, this is the sort of tactics that, you know, come about when you... Jeez, that is... It's a good thing that I upgraded some of my armor recently, because otherwise that would be a single shot. Hard mode ain't messing around, let's just say that. However, aside from that, you can see that especially some of these tutorial fights are not the most interesting. You just do the holy trinity of JRPGs, you know, buff, attack, heal, and that's it for this one. It's a little bit more interesting when you get to actual boss fights and you have to be planning for stuff that, like elemental attacks or very specific type of attacks, try to take care of afflictions. But for right now, it's just buff, attack, heal. That's the simplest way to put it. That's exactly what's happening right here. Healing 50 health is not going to make any difference when even a single attack does well over 100. Really what you're looking for is getting lucky and getting a critical hit on the boss here. That's not only a potential for an all-out attack, that's also a second hit to maybe heal a little bit as well. One of the neat things about the press turn system, but it's also still heavily relies on a lot of RNG, unfortunately. Alright, getting a lot of levels here, which, oh boy, do I need that. It's just unfortunate that you don't get a full heal at that same time, too. No, really the important thing is that now it can make a lot more powerful persona. Personae? Personas. It says personas in the game. I've had this debate with myself before. It's weird that it keeps coming up like this. Ryuji, this is not time to be thinking about your pants. You just had a very tough fight here. And if I was talking about the Japanese version, I would be talking about him laughing. Anyway. Yeah, now is when you get to this point? Like, So let me ask. This is something that you could have done at any point in time, just shoved a few tutorials in there instead of having big extended cuts. This game drives me mad. I think the most interesting thing is shadow personalities, which when I originally saw that they were talking about that, I'm like, wait. We had a big talk about like how guns work in the Shadow Realm, but not. Yes, we are going to be heading back. No, Morgana, we're going to be heading back. That was a tough fight, and I barely made it out alive. We're going to play this one safe. But yeah, I originally thought that when they said shadow personalities, they were talking about they were talking about like a Shadow Kamoshida or the various shadow archetypes that we found back in Persona 4. But no, they're talking about the personalities as far as when you're negotiating with demons, which I guess is less important, but being able to actually see what personalities a shadow has is something new for the series. Before, you just had to kind of infer that by how they were talking. Usually they're given some sort of like affectation. Very nice statue. Given some sort of affectation in like their speech, like idiomatic speech patterns and stuff like that. But no, now you can actually just look at it. It just says that on their analysis page, which is pretty useful. I mean, gloomy shadows want you to be vague. Happy shadows want you to be, you know, flippant. Serious shadows want you to be serious. Makes sense. You can, in fact, equip up this grimy gear. And I'm surprised that Morgana doesn't have anything more to say about that. But it is terrible. It's like the worst armor you can possibly have right now. So, yeah. Might do that eventually. Of course, the idea of wasting an afternoon not talking to anybody, not, you know, studying, but instead sitting there waiting for my clothes that I found in the, again, collective unconsciousness to get cleaned. I don't know. I think I can just go over to the military shop and get an upgrade rather than doing that. Although I haven't seen if it actually takes any amount of time. I've just, Thankfully, I'm pretty quick on the trigger for a lot of these fights. despite how many gotcha moments there tend to be. It's frustrating. We get a bunch of junk that doesn't even matter. I mean, even on hard mode, you do get more than enough money to get fully prepped up for a lot of these fights. Not that makes too much of a difference. Want to keep this in the video just to show how touchy the interactable actions sometimes can be. Especially coming up here a little bit later when we get back to the... Wait, did it? No, that's in this video. I'm forgetting everything. Because I was originally going to break this up into 2 different videos, but decided not to. Decided to just make it one big one. After all, I've said before that I am going to be focusing a lot more on Persona 5 for a little while here. So why not have some extra large episodes to prove that I'm serious? Prove to who? I don't know. Myself, I guess? Anyway, hey, take care of some of the notice percentages here. I was really hoping that this, that one of these areas around here, especially this one, was going to be a safe room, but it would have appeared on the map if that was the case, which I forgot. Oh, something you can't actually see in the video is that when enemies are very close to you, the controller starts to do a little bit of a shimmy shake. You get the rumble feature going on there. Not that it seems like enemies can actually see you, that's just something that's supposed to psych you out, I guess. I honestly don't know, because the fact that the controller does rumble makes it seem like, oh, you're going to be found out, but that hasn't happened yet. And this is the hardest difficulty, so I don't know. Anyway, one room I'm not going into is that one to my left, because you can see that there's just nothing and an enemy in there. So, yeah. And as of right now, really, with the low MP, I'm sort of banking on... Zombie. I'm sort of banking on there being a safe room somewhere. Perhaps down here? No, absolutely not. And no, you can't interact with the treasure chest to get some invincibility, which is unfortunate. So now we're in yellow, caution mode, and I couldn't have even opened that chest anyway since it has a big lock pad on it. Soon enough, I'm going to just make a bunch more lockpicks, go back into the dungeon, clear out the rest of these treasure chests, but not just yet. That's going to be coming a little bit later, and it's going to be off-screen. Don't worry, I won't subject you to clean up in the palaces. It's just going to be new stuff, and new stuff only. Or, well, mostly new stuff. Unless something particularly interesting happens. More cutscenes. And there we go, there's the tower. Thing that was said on the map, but, you know, it's not like the school has a tower in it. That just only exists in the fantasy zone here. By the way, why is there a tower if the school doesn't actually have one? Well, it's his penis. I'm not even gonna mince words here. That's Kamoshida's penis. As a tower. Because he's a man very obsessed with that. So everything here is glowing with tough guy energy. Don't really want to. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's like, yeah, that was a little bit difficult one to transcribe because that is a... I mean, the phrase means the exact same thing, but... It's as such, using words that you don't see a whole lot, I suppose. Well, those guys look a little bit too tough for me to want to deal with for right now, so I decided to bail for the day. Taking care of the Archangel was enough for the time, let's just say that. Yeah, that was just Sakura saying, hey, I'm not giving you any pocket change. Go make some scratch yourself if you want any. Still talking about the various mysterious circumstances around these accidents that have been happening. But we're too early in the game to actually make any sort of conjectures about that yet. I've got my own theories. Which is to say that I'm pretty sure it's the police chief. Like, they had that big cutscene where he was just, you know, doing just plotting, essentially. But I don't really know how or why or how any of that fits into anywhere into the plot just yet. Hey, I said I had my suspicions about how there might be some sort of world-saving plot line developing in the background, but it's still... Might only be 16 parts in, but that's still pretty far off. Hoo boy. So yeah, this is a big extended conversation about how sometimes things are on some days, but not others. Time-locked content. One of the things I've been watching a lot when doing the transcription for these episodes is an LP, a big LP of Shenmue, which is surprisingly similar in a lot of ways. Makes me wonder how much Persona ended up taking like inspiration from something like that. Because that was well known for being one of the first open world games, but it's open world in a lot the same way that Persona is. Where sometimes you have to wait until nightfall before you do something, or specific days, or this and that. It's definitely interesting. Sort of comparisons you can make. And now, actually, you got the Megami Tensei development team. And that means Persona as well. Brought into Sega. Atlus is now owned by them, so... And then Shenmue 3 it came as a Kickstarter and was funded being a little bit... now being separate from that. And at the same time, you also have the Yakuza series, which is very similar to that as well. It's weird how, you know, as much as things can change, also stay the same. So anyway, here's where I made a more concerted effort to really make sure that I spent all of the money. By the way, that weird quick cut there, I thought that was a problem with the video when I was editing this. Like, I thought, oh no, something happened where like there were some frames that were cut out. No, that's actually apparently what it looked like in the game, because I couldn't find any weird issues with that or anything. It was that sudden even there. Noticed that a couple times in the game so far with how the... sometimes cutscenes are weird. This game is janky in some places that are sometimes difficult to see, but when you got to go through it sometimes frame by frame like I do, it's like you notice that sort of thing. They are almost assuredly detectives. I wonder if that's supposed to be that, you know, Najima and that other guy that we saw really early on that were given their own cutscene and are kind of skulking around here, trying to figure out, you know, on the beat, trying to figure out what's going on with the mysterious accidents around here or something, if that's even something that people are investigating right now. Oh, also the Velvet Room's here. Yeah, you always get some way to access this even outside of the palaces. That's just a thing in the series. That's usually not the part where you get kicked into it. I mean, I can understand the main character's reluctance to go in there. It's not a very nice circumstance, the Velvet Room this time. Oh, sure, previous guys got a nice schwanky elevator or, you know, a fully stocked, like a limousine with a minibar and everything inside of it. But no. This time you get to go to jail. Great. Cool. Awesome. The metaphor becomes real. Yes. I had my assumptions. And of course, you decide to put that in a dank, mysterious, suspicious alleyway. Thanks, guys. Really helpful. Well, anyway, I'm not going to be doing anything in here right now. I've done a lot of Persona fusing and everything like that. I think the Persona that I'm currently using right now is Genbu, which looks like a tiny dragon on top of a little dragon on top of a turtle or something like that. It has Bufu. It has the ice ability, which is something that I've been missing in my party so far, giving me a pretty good coverage of all the weaknesses that you can get aside from light and dark, the instant kill type of skills. Those will be coming up later on. In the English version, referred to as airsoft guns. Here, this is just called a military shop. You know, like a military supply overstock store or whatever. Or like just if you're a gun nut, that's where you're going. Because you are not getting a real gun in Japan, as I've said before. Why, what's that, Ryuji? Do you want to go to the palace? Because, yeah, I am super down with going to the palace. Didn't really get to do too much there last time. It was mostly just going in to beat up the Archangel, secure myself a quick route to get back to the... crate area in front of the tower. And that's about it. So I am ready and raring to go. After all, I want to say that this is, at this point, probably not given a huge... like, later time limits are probably going to be much larger. And I could also hang out with him, but no. He wanted to go to the palace. Let's go to the palace. Okay, so, back right in front of the crates. I'm going to be doing the sneaky style. And much like every single time I played... Well, every single time I did anything in Sekiro, this is pretty much going to go the same way, which is to say, I attempt to do it stealthily, and then I don't. Because the stealth mechanics are maybe not the best in this. And you can probably see from the amount of times... Well, that, for example... But also the amount of times that I just kind of run into the walls for a couple seconds for seemingly no reason. Well, that's pretty much the same here. Although I did do a pretty decent job of it for the time being. I mean, this is okay. Yeah. And mad dash door. Hey, who could have seen that coming? Everybody, I assume. It's like we're phantom thieves, of course. So, yeah, never take the front door and everything. Oh, and then what happens? Oh well, diplomacy has failed. Time for fights. And thankfully, clearing out one fight, I mean, I did have to do a couple of them in the row. If enemies are close enough to each other, you'll just have like a chained 2, maybe even 3 battles at some points in time, which is real fun. But hey, they're gone. They're gone from this area, so I can just do the whole Phantom Thief thing, running around on rooftops, in front of a full moon. It's all very dramatic and very nice looking. By the way, don't accidentally run when you're on top of the roofs. just a point of advice from your old pal Docky here, because you will immediately jump off. Yeah, so just keep your finger off that R2 trigger when you're running up here. Oh, well, a little bit more exposure, but other than that, I managed to not get into a fight, which is pretty cool. That's kind of a drain on resources, and you need to conserve your MP as much as possible, especially on hard mode here. That's pretty much the time limit that you have. Oh boy, that looks like something straight out of Bloodstain. I fought a boss on there. That was the guy that won the book that Jeeble has. Jeeble has the book, don't you know? Yes, that is my favorite line from that game. Anyway. Well, thankfully, don't have nearly as janky as a fight on there. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be one coming up here. Or a bunch of them. Because, yeah. You know, when you were talking about distortion, I didn't think you meant it this literally. I feel like we're... Getting closer to the treasure is going to be maybe not too good for my health. Judging by the amount of... I'm really not entirely... yeah. Kamoshida being as classy as always. Could make a good thumbnail out of that, but no. Not gonna get banned from YouTube right now, but yes. I guess it's a bunch of, like, goop? Kind of like... I have no idea. Also, once again, yeah. Yeah. In the transcription, I called this the Buttavator. For obvious reasons. But it does give you a nice little shortcut through the various parts of the palace here, especially since I don't have a safe room coming up here at all. This is going to be the easiest way to get back. Great. I mean, presumably someplace near the dungeons. Also, not only a lot of treasures to get here, but you can also see a very big teal cyan colored object down this hallway here. Which is, well, where you want to go. But anyway, there are a lot of little shortcuts to get through the palace, even though the second that you find a safe room, you can just immediately go right to that. So it's not really that big of a deal. But still, at least you get to get to have that good dopamine hit in your brain when you open up a Dark Souls shortcut, which I can always appreciate, even as useless as they are. Of course. Of course. I gotta tell you, I'm a little disappointed that that one really tough-looking enemy that was in the middle of the room when we were kind of running around the second floor of this isn't still there. I wanted to see what that dude was, what the deal with that guy is. But it doesn't really matter because everything's gone. Or, you know, just some place to maybe easily grind out a little bit on tough enemies for as soon as you get into the palace here. Because I have been doing a little bit of that. I mean, you know I like a good grind, and, well, a good amount of opportunities to do that. So there were a couple chests around here. I didn't bother showing that. And I also kind of looked around to see if any one of the doors opened up into a new area. Nah, it's pretty much you just get back here, you open up the door to the main area, and that's about it. But there is also this second elevator hanging around here. Boy, I hope it's not more butts. No, it's actually much worse than that. Well, somehow I still did manage to get first hit on there, so that's cool. And I decided to show this one because, yeah, succubus, as they looked classically. But I think the more interesting thing is that when you knock them down, they go into the position that you would see them in all the way back in, like, the 2D SMT games. Yep, that's what, when you encountered succubus, she was always in that kind of, like, a squatting pose like that all the way back in the day. It's a nice little touch. Nice little nod to the original Megatens. Also, despite being fairly, well, or at least comparatively higher level enemies here, went down without any issue. They can confuse you. They have the ability to do like a confusion attack, which is pretty obnoxious to deal with because, especially if you're playing like safety mode or something, because although enemies are not very tough, your party members can do quite a number on each other just because of the general difference in power that you have on the two characters. The two opposing sides, I suppose. Here, enemies are not too much more powerful than your actual characters. It's refreshing in some ways, but also means that, well, you're not really feeling too much more powerful compared to your enemies in a lot of ways. I do really like how how like the terrain is distorting before your very eyes. Something that never really appeared in the other Persona games. It's a cool touch. Although that doesn't leaves a lot of opportunities for me getting ambushed by enemies because it kind of forms into just one big corridor in a lot of ways. Yeah. Something I missed here was the ability to open up a shortcut to the other side of that. Other side of this area, which might have been a little bit useful later on, but didn't. Well, I didn't notice it. You know, the more useful thing is the safe room. Well, forget about the butt evader. Don't need that thing anymore. It's the theming is getting also getting a lot more explicit over time now, isn't it, too? Going from a castle to just modern art installation here. Especially with the so we get the pommel horses and butts. A lot of butts. It's an interesting look into Kamoshida's psyche, which didn't really need. Oh boy, 75%. This is getting pretty serious. And even more serious is that Archangels are now just regular enemies, which is. So you can see why I was being extra. Oh, come on! Well, at least I didn't get any more awareness here. Any more exposure. But still, this game is kind of nuts as you get into the later parts of the dungeons here, isn't it? Well, anywho, Yeah, you can actually get that chest behind me. I don't know why I didn't. Looking at this right now. I guess I must have thought that it had a... By the way, yes, nude candlestick. That's what that said. I guess I must have just thought that that was a locked one. And I haven't had any lockpicks for a while. And, you know, to think that I was thinking, oh, it seems so easy to not worry about the exposure here. And it's like, yeah, until you got kind of a problem. So, fun fact, this is the second time that I've been to this part. The first time, I accidentally ran into that vase and got stuck on the geometry. And then got sneak attacked and just completely murdered by an Archangel. So, you know, all worked out super well for me. Hey, it's been a while. I mean, you know, given the amount of pomp and circumstance that the first one of these statues got, I'm kind of surprised they haven't come up more any in the dungeon. Just down in the dungeon area of the castle, and then up here once. And Morgana actually does have a point. You probably don't want to mess around with those things if you don't have to. You don't know what it's going to do after all. That, for example. Well, it's a bunch of pits and pendulums. Reminds you a lot of what was it, the Hintertombs area of Bloodborne. Oh, this sort of setup appeared a lot in that area, and very obnoxious. Well, since we can't have people's tails cut off, which, I mean, Anne's is fake, and Morgana's is, I guess, real, but also Morgana's supposed to be a human person? Or something? Well, anyway, yes, this would be the obvious way to control this. Nope. Nope. Oh, well, I mean, if nothing else, we can guide a few of the snake men into here and have them get hit off by those. Makes going through Sen's Fortress pretty easy. How many more comparisons can I make here? That sort of setup appeared a lot in purple, which I still gotta go finish that game. It was a very Castlevania thing. Yeah, I saw that in Bloodstained actually recently as well. With the secret lab, the forbidden sorcery lab, or something like that. So my first idea was hidden room. Well, that's the point of it being a hidden room, Morgana. It wouldn't be on the map, but I'm kind of glad to see that there's not going to be areas that aren't on the map. That would be a little bit frustrating to find in some ways, but also frustrating is having to go fight enemies. There's a lot of enemies in here, and you know, like I said about the whole Archangel thing, it's not... Trying to avoid fighting those guys is kind of the prudent action, at least in my opinion, but... Well, if that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. Thankfully, yeah, Joker has that whole third eye thing, so... I figured that out pretty easy. Needless to say, we're looking for some eyeballs to shove in statue, since that one does not have it. I mean, even before the characters make that own revelation, I had figured that out. It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's that whole, I played a video game once before thing. Alright, 65%. Gonna be fighting enemies, so at least I can take care of some of that stuff. I mean, it's not too bad to get the exposure down if you are willing to fight enemies. It's just... It's a drain on resources. And as you can see, the thing I'm almost most worried about is, well, the main character, first off, but also Anne, who... Her fire skill's been getting a lot of use in this dungeon. A decent amount of characters on the upper floors here, in the tower, have been weak to fire, so I've been using that a lot more. But also, you know, the main character has the whole Joker can use any card in the deck ability, which has been useful for making sure that he can at least do the weaknesses if nobody else can. And here's where I realized that I had missed getting into... Yeah, let's just do it. Save myself some time. Maybe not in-game, because these battles can take a little while, but in video editing, getting this chest. Okay. And I think that's... Is that the thing that takes away afflictions, any sort of afflicted status or whatever, I think. Well, yeah, so who has the key? Gee, I wonder. Huh. Okay, then. Enemies can disappear as quickly as they appear. It's one of the things that makes the random counters more random than you'd sometimes like them to be. Hey, it's you. And I don't actually know what this guy is weak to. The first time we saw him, he was flanked by enemies that were weak to lightning, but I don't think that the enemy itself was weak to lightning. However, this time, he is. Yeah, not willing to talk to me, so it's just all-out attack from here. I mean, I guess I could have tried. I don't think I have actually tried to talk to bosses after they were knocked down, but just felt like, well, yeah! Oh god! Well, let's hope that main character doesn't get hit, because I should be fine if that doesn't happen. And that was very lucky. Just end this right now. Oh yeah, there's Genbu that I was talking about earlier. Looking good. Like I said, Bufu, pretty great, because that's what the Barith guys are weak to. Which is something that I didn't have for a while now. And yep, key item right there. Probably also be pretty good to grind against those guys if they reappear, but I got my doubts on that. Yep, something that I figured out almost immediately, but sure, whatever, Ryuji. I mean, if we've established nothing about Ryuji's character at this point, it's that he may be a little bit slow on the uptake. Took me a while to remember what the character for Scythes looks like in Japanese. Oh, it's not a real eye. I mean, yes, it is described as being a Randy right eye, but that's just a characteristic. It's not like it's actually full of lustfulness. I have no idea, but whatever, anyway. Well, there's only one other floor, so no problem. I mean, there weren't any enemies up near the Scythe hallway, as far as I know, so... Well, I guess that's one way to do it. No, I still have the third eye thing. Even if they weren't making this very obvious. Yeah. I don't really know exactly how it works. I mean, the shadows have their own personality and everything like that, but there's nothing that indicates that you can't just make as many of one type as you want. It's not like we've seen some sort of shadow production part of the castle, like a factory or something, turn these guys out. So yeah, right there. Could have figured that one out myself, but the real thing is, and then I did a little bit of menuing, don't even worry about it. Trying to figure, I restored a little bit of main character's MP, since, like I said, he's probably the one that's most likely to have some sort of ability to do weaknesses on enemies. Though Morgana and Anne are the only ones that I don't have covered just yet. And especially because she's able to hit weaknesses of a lot of enemies here. But yes, also the shadows have just appeared and disappeared seemingly as they please. So I have no idea exactly how these things work. You can make them look like elite guys, I suppose. Oh, by the way, the whole, hey, well, one way to do it would be fighting all of them. Well, it wasn't by choice, but I ended up doing that anyway, since the real guard captain is fairly far away from the action, all things considered, so I didn't really have too much choice on that matter. And here's the shortcut opened up, which is always good. Happy to see that. Though, once again, it's not that useful. It just would have been useful for this one area so that I could duck into the door and then duck back out as soon as the coast was clear. Oh, well. Let's go. And as you would expect, it's another one of these guys, which I do not remember the name of. I know that the other dudes are Barrets. the other red armored, riding on horseback guys, but these ones, I don't remember. Boy, oh boy. I do have the ability to revive party members. I have like one revival item that brings them back at half health or whatever. But I'm not going to use that just yet since I only have, well, one of them. And additionally, when you finish up with a battle, enemies that are dead in battle come back to life with 1 HP, and you have the whole auto recover thing, meaning that it's not terrible. Well, wasn't quite as lucky the second time. So let's just skip right to the end here. I mean, I did the exact same thing, and somehow, I don't even know how this happened. The battle turned out the exact same way. Ryuji was dead, everybody else was fine. I just managed to go, I just managed to get one more lucky hit here, and that's it. Speaking of Shenmue, I do want to play a game of Lucky Hit. In fact, that's every single one of these battles. Making sure that I'm lucky that I don't get hit. So yeah, that one's called Lustful Left Eye. Yeah, Kamoshida's whole thing is pretty clear, isn't it? Ah, dang. Still got the exposure, but whatever, it's not a big deal. It's all right back up to the statue. It's not like there's anything else that happens on the way there. Just some more good grinding. Now they start swinging twice as fast. I do like that puzzle solved sound effect. That's a very classic, like, JRPG, like, little bell tingling thing. So yeah, just get a jump right over here, grab this. Soul Drop. Soul Drop, I think, is 10 MP, which is, like, nothing. But, hey, for the sake of actually seeing the menu for 5 seconds and making sure that I have a little bit more MP on N, it's at least worth using it. And definitely want to get the sneak attack on this guy so that I can get the exposure a little bit down, because you never know when this sort of thing might happen. Why? What is this? This game sometimes, I tell you. Anywho, yeah, I think that's a revival bead, which, yeah, I do need. I was just talking about how I don't have a whole ton of those, and they're probably going to be useful in whatever sort of upcoming boss fight we got against Kamoshida. I mean, let's be honest here. There's nobody else that I'm going to be fighting right now, unless the treasure is going to turn out to be a dude. Or like I have to fight Literal Heart, like it's Paper Mario. I wouldn't be opposed to that. So yeah, I'm trying to be cautious here, but as it turns out, there's nothing. Nope. Except for statues, which are staring at me wherever you go in the room. Kind of weird, but yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, it took me a surprising amount of time to actually get in front of the little staircase here. That was, to my embarrassment. Yes. They've been doing so far. Yeah, and the funny thing is that he doesn't even attack you. He just waits for you to come up and talk to him. I guess maybe hoping you'll be psyched out by the Kamoshida statues around here. All right. I'm not ready quite yet. I want to make sure that I have everybody prepped up, but oh boy. This is a fight. And somehow I actually managed to do it the first try, which was pretty surprising. All right. Enjoy this. Morgana, please. Okay. So yeah, sometimes it just won't take a turn because it's getting distracted by Anne. So this is Mara. this is Mara, and this is actually a classic SMT demon design. Sometimes it's a little bit more explicit, and usually it's riding around on a golden chariot, but this time we just get just the tip. I like to think that Shigeru Miyamoto was playing this game, and when he got to this part, he was like, "Oh my god, we need to have Joker in Smash Brothers. Like, how can we not after seeing this?" Anyway, there's a good example of freezing an enemy. You can freeze enemies, shock enemies. I think also like inflict burn on enemies. Freezing and shock will prevent them from moving for one turn, and the next hit you get on them is a technical, which is kind of like a critical. But, not really that big of a deal here. I managed to get pretty lucky with Mara getting distracted and getting a lucky critical here, so I managed to actually do this. I'm shocked myself. Also, wasting a turn healing is pretty helpful. Boy, I never really thought that Mara would actually have a story reason for looking like this, but here we are. Well, anyway, yeah, Patora, that's pretty good. I think it clears out afflictions on characters of yours. I agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. Anyway, so the stairs are appearing now, and it is actually kind of like a cool little area. You get a neat little camera angle for this very Resident Evil fixed style. So that kind of confused me for a second, since that doesn't really happen too often here. And I think that was a glitch, but because those stairs were definitely there, but then had the animation of appearing anyway. But whatever. Anyway, very top of the tower. That's right. The treasure is at the top of the tower, because of course it is. And one more enemy left here, but the more important thing is that there's also a safe room back there, which is a very welcome sight indeed. I was seriously considering just running back and going to that safe room, but I was thinking also, I don't know, this is about the point that you would see another one. I made a risky choice coming in here to do that fight. Who knows if it could have been an Archangel able to one-shot me here, but it turned out okay anyway, so all's well that ends well, I guess. Anywho, quickly coming up on the end of the dungeon. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even see that coming myself. Actually starting to make some real progress in Persona 5 for once. It took so long, but here we are. Infiltration successful. You haven't had too much of a problem here when it comes to shouting everything before, but it's actually been a while since we've seen Kamoshida here. Oh yes, and this is also a little section here where you can't run. And Joker actually decides to finally be discreet in his movements. I don't know if you could attack that enemy over on the other side of the upper hallway here, but I wasn't going to find out. No, we finally got here. Let's just snatch this thing and get out. And there it is. And by the way, since everything else we get in this dungeon does appear to be an actual real thing, maybe we should load up on some of these coins, I'm just saying. I mean, not like, you know, overload the bags or anything, but these are probably still currency in the real world. Also, yeah, the treasure is some sort of big floating thing. So I guess my entire idea before about somebody just going into people's palaces and stealing the treasure as part of the whole, like, plot to cause these accidents to happen was not actually the case. Because apparently it's not as easy as just getting to the treasure. Yeah, that's Morgana saying right here. I don't know, I still have the idea that the police chief is working with some sort of eldritch god or whatever, and maybe they have the ability to steal treasures a lot easier, even when they're formless like this. But I guess that's still something that we're going to have to find out later. Morgana, of course, knows exactly how to make it appear. Which is, once again, kind of suspicious here, since we do know that somebody does eventually betray the team. Somebody who might be a little bit experienced with this. Somebody who would know how to do this and be willing to infiltrate. What the hell is this? I mean, I guess it is, and that it would explain... I mean, it's this whole thing, like, you know, before you could have probably done this discreetly, done this without anybody knowing that you were stealing the treasure. Now everybody's unfortunately going to know. And I know Morgana and apparently Ryuji are totally okay with that. What with the whole, yeah, no, we can be like real phantom thieves, sending calling cards. A very contrived way to make this happen, but fine, whatever. So yeah, as it turns out, just finding the treasure, that we don't encounter Kamoshida. I was really expecting it to just be like, hey, the treasure's in here. Then Kamoshida comes up from behind and is like, I'm a boss now. And then he's a boss, and then you fight him, and that's dungeon. But no, there's apparently a whole rigmarole that you gotta go through before this. I wasn't even expecting to, like, come out of this experience alive. I was expecting to die in a boss fight here. But no, it's, there's apparently a whole second part to this whole thing, where now you have to send a calling card. Okay. That's fine, because again, that just gives me more time to prep up. And more time to do, social links and everything like that. So, sure. And yeah, I guess, I mean, like I said, I was not planning to do anything else in the dungeon here. I just wanted, since we just got a safe room, I wanted to check out what was going to happen, but apparently that was the intended way to do this. Yeah. Just go right up there anytime you want. Cool. I already said yes. I didn't say let's go back to the beginning of the dungeon. I said yes, let's get out of here for the day. It's finally time. And yeah, this opens up another option from the hideout, so anytime we're ready. But nope, I'm going to be prepping up a little bit before that. Just knowing that we have the dungeon nearly done is enough for now.